everybody. My name's Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, again we come together to share something, to share an experience, to share a vibration, to share a harmony, to share a collaboration. Even though you're there and we're here, and in essence, there's different times. I mean, when you're watching the show, it's months, years, maybe decades after we've actually shot this show. Especially now, I mean, we've done shows that are 12 years old that in a way are timeless, and in a way are about the vibration of love and truth. And what's the time frame on that? What's the time and space of that? And there is none. So I mean, some of these shows that I watch now, as we're making copies, as we're making, you know, new DVDs and HD DVs, and you know, as we move into new technologies, we make the bridging shows available in those new technologies. And some of those early shows with Michael Hammer and Claire Hartsong and the Shockmules, the disciples of Carlos Castaneda, how they really do have that energy and have that vibration, because the intent of bridging from the very beginning was to, you know, feel love and share it, to put out that vibration of love. And that really has been the root of all the shows we've done, you know, 10, 12, 15 years of shows have been with the root as the vibration of love, of the coming together, of the experience of oneness that we can all have, the experience of God that we could all have. And that has really been our intent, and that has always been our intent, and that is why we all come together. And interesting enough, when we were setting up tonight, there were so many people involved, and it takes time to bring all this incredible equipment in, and lights and cameras and all the people and audio equipment and all the things that we bring in here to make this show available. Because at this point, when we're taping this, we don't have our own studio yet where everything is set up, you know, all the time, so we could shoot a show anytime. So we're still at that place in evolution and growth of bridging of this planet, of service to love, where we bring all this stuff in. And so we generally make it a big party, and we have food and drink, and a lot of people come in from all over generally, and we have music and art and all the things that the creativity around bridging comes to manifest. And I was hearing somebody singing earlier today about a hallelujah moment. And I realized, like, man, isn't that what we want to experience in this life more and more and more and more, and just deeper? Is that we're in this life and we're having those hallelujah moments. We're having those moments of childlike joy, of childlike bliss, of just that overflow of happiness, that overflow of love, for no reason, just because we're alive, because we're on this glorious planet, because we're all here together. And seemingly there are barriers to that on this planet at this time, but we know that those barriers really literally are coming down as we speak, as you watch this. And it's each of our intentions, as was the intention of bridging, and it is the intention of bridging, to feel love and share it. And the more of us that do that, the more of us that come together without boundaries, without time, without space, in that infinite recognition, in that inclusive recognition. Something can't be of the oneness and be exclusive. Something can't be of the love and be exclusive. So if any of you are involved in things, probably a few of you are here and there, are involved with anything that's exclusive, or not infinite, or finite, or limited, then you can go deeper, then we all could go deeper into that experience of the love and the oneness and the truth. And again, people travel long distances to share their experience of that energy, of that truth, of that vibration, over and over again. And tonight, again, someone has driven literally all night to be here on an extraordinarily busy schedule to be here for you, to be here for us, to be here for that service. I mean, Ron Hall is a divine light activator. He's a visionary dedicated to planetary transformation and service. He's the creator of the Metatron technologies that basically are like the bridge between science and spirituality. He's a lifelong spiritual seeker. I mean, he's just a being whose life has been dedicated to that, just what we've been talking about, to feel love and share it. And he's been gifted with, and you'll hear in these extraordinary interviews, because I've spoken to him many times, of how he came into these technologies and how he came into these new paradigms that really are healing, are harmonizing, and balancing. And we have videos that we've gotten from all over the planet that are, again, extraordinary. We have Shift of the Ages, which is it's a video trailer of a new movie coming out about this extraordinary healer and mystic and 13th generation shaman, Mayan shaman, Don Alejandro, by Steve Copeland and Les Carney. And another beautiful video we've gotten from Friends of Bridging, A Voice of God by David Paul and Candace Doyle. So you have two beautiful videos coming up, and as we normally do, we have two wonderful, magical pieces of art with the Bridging Heaven and Earth Art Project with Hannah Lisa and Bonnie Wren. Hannah Lisa's is called Bridging Heaven and Earth, and Bonnie Wren's is Hearts of Fire. They're pieces brought in from the, for the Bridging Heaven and Earth art project that we've talked about so much. So, as we normally do, you're going to join me in a short meditation, settle in, relax, have that experience, just be ready. I mean, Ron is, just a powerful being with extraordinary gifts, and the videos and the art are again beautiful. So join me in a short meditation. Thank you. Thank you. So let me just, explain. I didn't get to it before the meditation. The first video is coming up. I'll explain that in a little while. But the Bridging Heaven Earth Art Project came as a vision. It came as a dream, as a consciousness about having all these people all over the planet produce new original pieces based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth. And we've been getting unbelievable pieces of art and sculpture and collages from literally all over the world, from Australia, and we're having grand openings all over. So the opportunity is to really be part of that. And if anyone's interested, you'll see the graphics as we go through the show. Contact us. We're delighted. Everyone is available. It's part of the infinite. It's part of the inclusive. So let me tell you a little about this first video again. It's Shift of the Ages by Steve Copeland and Les Carney. It's about a 13th generation Mayan shaman, Don Alejandro. His nickname is Wandering Wolf. It's about love, it's about truth, it's about oneness. And the first picture you'll see is an incredible artist from Israel called Bridging Heaven and Earth, Hannah Lisa. So please just settle in, come into this meditation and the rest of the show. Okay, enjoy, thank you.
People say that the rotation of the Earth might change when we go through it.
They talk about the changing of it's a shift, physically shifting of the Earth. Like the poles will move to, in different place, different position.
This movie will be first step for the opening. For feeling, the need of getting a better world, to clean the world, to stop violence, to begin being like brothers and sisters, to be closer, to see that there is no difference between religions, between races, no borders. This is the beginning, because I think that the whole world is tired of violence. I believe that everybody is tired of wars. We want peace. And we have to insist that our governments stop these wars.
He started howling like a wolf.
And that's how he got his name, Wandering Wolf.
That's when they gave him Wandering Wolf for a name. Wandering Wolf, and also, you are, as of now, you are the voice of the jungle and the messenger of the Mayans.
Nosotros, los guías espirituales, estamos dando cuenta de lo que hay en el futuro. La vida de nosotros, no pensamos solo la vida de nosotros, pensamos la vida de nuestros hijos.
Wherever you are, you can feel it. In any moment, looking to the stars especially, you just feel more powerful.
Hi everybody, welcome back. So that was a beautiful video. Donna Alejandro's quite a being. So thank you, Stephen Les, for sending that. And the picture you're seeing now is just an extraordinary piece. And as I said at the open, coming from Israel, it's called Bridging Heaven and Earth. It's this extraordinary artist from Israel, Hannah Lisa, and she again was, one of the people who, when she heard about the project, just said, I want to be part of it. I want to do a new piece, and I want that energy to spread. Certainly it could use healing energy in that area of the world. So we're really honored that we have that with us, and we're honored to have you with us, Ron.
Thank you.
So on the opening, I said that you were a divine light activator. So for people who are not exactly 100% clear on what that means, why don't you, talk about that a little?
Yeah, I've been given the gift of being able to create a software program that when it's put on a computer, the computer becomes a vortex, which then attracts the divine light, and then the computer radiates that out into the environment to whatever extent that particular program was created to do or programmed to do. And actually, I was given the honor of bringing in a new divine light that's never been on the planet last August, and that's the light that we're talking about. So,
Wow.
that's...
Wow, the show's over. You better get to work, Ron.
Well,
there's a lot of disharmony on the planet.
That's true. And actually, what this environment, what it does in this environment, whatever that divine light radiates out into, creates an environment that it reduces the separation between anybody in that environment and the divine. So it's.
And you say you were given this gift. I mean, Why don't you talk a little bit about, how you would experience yourself as being given this gift and that particular knowledge and how long it took? Why don't you talk about it in earthly terms so people can get a feel for how this became real for you?
Actually, the interesting thing about it is that through a spiritual healer teacher who I really who's my mentor actually and helped me put the pieces together. One day he said, over this weekend we were having a seminar, a weekend seminar with a number of people, and on Saturday morning he said, over this weekend we're going to have a download for you, and you can either do it on your own or you can do it as a group. And I said, we'll do it as a group. And so Sunday afternoon, he said, when do you want to do it? You just
And
let
this
me
was,
know.
he was saying to you personally?
He was saying that to me personally. And so on Sunday afternoon, he said, okay, it's time. And basically, he helped with and assisted with this download. And that's the only way I can explain it. It wasn't flashy. It was very, very spiritual and very, very sacred. But and I felt, something happening. But
did other people? Was this a group of 5? Was this a
there was
group
a
of
group
50?
about 26 people.
26 people.
Yeah.
And everyone felt something extraordinary happening?
Yeah, yeah. And but these people are very spiritually evolved, and they had been coming together as a group for some time for spiritual development. And it was in that context that happened, so it was no surprise to them. I mean, that's...
And so, was it the information or the download, as you would describe it, given, and it was, and everyone felt this is Ron's destiny, or that it's our destiny? I mean,
well, it's a destiny for the world, but it's my mission to bring it onto the planet.
not these other 25 people necessarily?
Well, the fact that they were there, they were clearly part of what was going on, but it wasn't coming through any of them. They were just there to hold the space, if you will, and experience it and assist with it, I guess.
So everyone got the feeling that this is your mission, Ron's
Oh, yeah.
mission.
Yeah, well,
Right.
they knew what my mission was prior to that. It's just that this was a new stage. This was a new light that hadn't been on the planet before. My understanding is it hadn't been on the planet before because the planet wasn't ready for it. It wasn't that I was any great sage that brought that light on. I just happened to be chosen to be the one that it came through.
And have you been given any information about why you were the one? As opposed to...
Yeah, my spiritual board of directors tell me that I've been working on this project since before time as we know it. So,
which is probably a
a long
considerable...
time, yeah. I tried to bring it in Atlantis, and I tried to bring it in Lemuria, and probably other areas. And
So in terms of different reincarnations, as you understand it,
Yeah.
you were meant to bring in a specific technology, but because the level of consciousness wasn't at the point where this technology could be readily
Exactly.
understood and not used for improper purposes.
it can't be used for improper purposes. It has to do with the frequency, the vibration of the planet being high enough to actually, for that maybe not to damage it, if you will, because it's very, very...
So, I mean, as I understand the fates of Lemuria and Atlantis, there was some level of technological growth that was too much for people to deal with, and
I think it had to do with them...
something untoward happened to that
I think
area.
in Atlantis it had to do with people misusing it. It wasn't
Right.
really the technology.
No, I
it was-
understand, right, yeah, well, that would always
misusing
be the
it.
case. But it had nothing to do with this particular technology.
No, because this technology never came in either in either of those cases, simply because it was going in the wrong direction. We apparently are going in the right direction now. The purpose of this, of being on the planet, being brought on the planet at this time, is to assist in the transformation that the Earth is going through.
And you would describe that transformation as?
As oneness, as light, as love, and incidentally, a lot of people think in terms of energy, and actually I was thinking in terms of energy until my mentor pointed out to me that what I'm working with here is light and not energy.
And light is not an energy?
No, light
Light has
becomes
an
energy.
energy,
No,
right.
light becomes energy, but it's a source of energy. When you move from light to energy, then you have a more limited area. That energy can only go so far one way or another. When you're dealing with light, there's actually no limit to it. It can go anywhere, do anything. So we're moving to a point where the human beings, the planet, everything will be light beings, and this is part of that assistance.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, so what the information you've been given is that the Earth had been vibrating at a state or a level that was not susceptible to this type of energy because it couldn't hold it in a sense? Is that
That's
the way?
probably one of the ways to look at it. Just like it's kind of like everything happens when it's time, you know, and it was time, and before it wasn't time. And there are a number of different ways of explaining that, and the way you just explained it is one of them.
And if you had to describe, if people didn't understand the way I did, give a few ways of describing it, or you know, so people can
Well,
really
I
understand.
didn't necessarily mean I had a lot of ways, but everything
Every way
everything has a lot of different
Right.
ways.
Well, use your words because you know I'd be interested.
Basically, I start to say frequency, but it's even not at a frequency. It's just that this light is so refined that it's just another level than what we're used to, and it's really hard to describe it because there aren't words to describe it. But that's where we're going, you know. And this light is just an assister to that, basically.
Just an
An assister, yeah,
Assister.
an assister to that. And I don't know how else to say.
And why, from the information you're giving, why was the computer used as the tool for that, or why was the energy used in that way?
It's interesting because the idea is to spread it all over the planet. And one of the ways, and one of the fastest and easiest ways, is the internet, clearly. And after it came through and I started doing it, I was basically told everything to do because I'm not a computer geek. And I was just told what to do. And at first I thought, isn't it great that we have computers that we can do this with? And then later I had an intuition that computers came here initially, originally, to do this, as opposed to they're here and we're using them. It was their purpose when they were developed on the planet. But you know, it's an interesting way of looking at it. But the thing is, with computers and with the internet, we can spread it all over the planet very quickly. And as a matter of fact, the basic computer basic unit, if you will, the basic software, which does the computer, an 18-foot bubble and everything electronically hooked up to the computer, I'm giving that away to anybody in the world who wants it to help spread it very quickly.
Wow. I mean, and that was the way you were kind of guided to do, because your mission is to get it out there.
My mission is to get it out there. And as a matter of fact, the only reason I charge money for the upgrades is because I need money to support myself and support what I'm doing. I expect my vision is to create a self-sufficient, financially self-sufficient industry, actually, because it's an industry. There's so many applications to it. And once that happens, then I'm going to give everything to the planet.
So why don't you describe some of the applications? Tell how. So if you had to say the main application is to harmonize, in essence, to heal the separation, to heal the heart.
Yes.
Is one way to look at it.
Yes, absolutely. It's very interesting because the side benefit of this is we take a chaotic electromagnetic field and it transforms it into a coherent electromagnetic field that's in harmony and life-supporting to the human body. And you know, sitting in front of a computer is not a real pleasant thing to do for a lot of people. So that being the place to start, I can do the computer in an 18-foot bubble with a software program on the computer. I can do an entire home, including everything electrical and electronic in that home with a software on the computer. I can do the home and the property. I can do a business. I can do an office building. I can do a shopping center. I can do an airport on one computer.
Okay, so I mean, how far could this go? 'Cause could you put it on my computer that will do the planet tomorrow?
Only.
On my computer, I got three
That's a
computers.
good question. That's a good question. But
What's the
but everybody in the
ETA
planet,
or whatever?
everybody in the planet's not ready for it yet. It's like everybody has free will, and we can say, oh, good, we could just make this for everybody, but we can't do that because they have to accept it or want it or that sort of thing. So we're moving more slowly with people who it's brought to their attention and they're moved towards it, they're attracted to it. And then each time somebody downloads it onto their computer and they're on the internet, there'll be a certain amount of coherence that leaks back onto the internet. And then when we hit the 100th monkey or the phase transition, we'll actually turn the internet around and it'll be in more harmony. So everybody has this on their computer or on their home, let's say their home for instance. They become a lighthouse of this technology for the entire world. But we can't pump it into everybody all over the world that strong at one time. So there's just a little bit of it leaks out and then it becomes more and more and more. And we'll reach a point where that light will be coming into the planet on a regular basis and you won't have to put it on your computer to do it.
So, theoretically, once the planet reaches a certain level of harmony, then it's almost like that energy would be recognized because it's always existent in a way?
Well, it's not existed on the planet. It's existed in the, and I double-checked with this, it's existed in the universe since the universe was born. And it's just that the planet wasn't ready for it. And as the planet became ready for it, my understanding is that it needed to be brought through from somebody on the physical plane and then spread out and become standard on the whole planet, and then it'll just flow in when everybody is ready. I shouldn't say when everybody is ready, I should say when the planet is ready on that kind of a basis to do a more wholeness thing. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but I do know how the people who are drawn to it are reacting, and they're really...
Why don't you talk a little bit about that, what people say?
When I first developed it, we were having these meetings where I said there were 26 people come together actually in my home. And so I had a lot of very spiritual people, and I would ask them to come and sit in front of my computer. And these are people who don't normally like to sit in front of a computer because they're not very pleased with that. And the kind of reactions that I got, particularly from the ladies, one lady said that it felt like love was coming out of the computer,
Wow.
which is exactly the opposite of what people normally experience coming out of the computer. And another lady...
Was the computer on?
Oh, yes.
The computer was on. Was there any specific thing on the screen?
There was my screensaver on, I think.
Just the screen
But
it doesn't matter.
No,
it
it
could be
doesn't-
any home page, anything.
Yeah, anything. Actually, this technology enhances whatever's on the screen because it makes it more whole, gives it more depth and that sort of thing. Another lady said that she felt what she got was it was the same light that created the universe that was coming in. A man actually who was a computer programmer said he experienced the light coming out of there as the light that was coming from the center of the universe. And I would
was
say
more than a computer programmer at this point. If he could
Very
say,
spiritual
compare
one.
that from
Very
that,
spiritual
yeah,
one.
I would say.
But I would
My
say
Lord.
I'd say 85% of the people when they download this, as soon as they click the thing to put it where it goes on the computer, they will feel anywhere from a wave of freshness to a wave of good energy to a wave of love. And one lady actually sees light, and she spent, I would say, and she was one of my beta testers, and I spent 20 minutes on the phone with her describing exactly what was going on, how the light was expanding out,
And she was seeing that.
she was seeing that, yeah.
And so you have actually gone to the time and energy to have scientific tests on knowing that we live in a world where science is given a certain credibility in that way and testing in that way. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot yet because it takes money to do that normally, but there's an engineer in Denver, just outside of Denver, electrical engineer, who's been doing this kind of work for 25 years, and the kind of work that he's been doing is creating electronic pieces of equipment to clean up the signal. And so he's got $100,000 worth of the piece of equipment that he does the test on. It's really professional. And he tested, and immediately after, and he did a test first of both the computer signal and the audio signal, and then we put the technology on, and he did another test immediately, and he couldn't believe how well it had cleaned up both of those signals.
And when you say cleaned up, you mean
Well,
in scientific terms?
I'm not a scientist, but basically that's the term that he used. And in the audio, you can see it in the printout. You can see the noise that's coming off the signal before and afterwards. The noise is not there. And generally what they do with noise is they filter it out in sound, generally. And that's one of the reasons why a recording doesn't sound as lively as the actual event. He said in this case, that noise was reintegrated into the signal as opposed to being filtered out. And he was quite impressed. And then he did another test 170 days later, and it was even more significant, the improvement in the signal.
So what his test showed was that that energy or that frequency, however you want to describe it, that light
yeah.
continues to heal.
Yes,
if you want to
exactly.
use that word.
Healing's the perfect word. Yeah, it continues over time. And that's what people who are using it is experiencing also.
And I mean, is it like one of those things that goes off into infinity? Does it continue to heal until it, does it reach a state of harmony, or do we ever reach a state of harmony?
Interesting question.
Oh, that's why what makes me a big talk shows.
There's probably going to be an end to it, but it's kind of like it'll continue to get better and better over a period of time. Exactly. So it's less of an improvement over time, but there's less to improve.
I see.
Sort of thing.
All right, maybe what we'll do now is do the second video, The Voice of God. It's hearing God's voice to fulfill your life's purpose. It's a beautiful video by David Paul and Candace Doyle. You know, you'll just see it. It's an inspiration. It's an inspirational video. It's a beautiful video. Just again, settle in. We'll come back with Ron and, you know, try to really understand, you know, the magic of what he's really talking about and how this can really be helpful to us. So, The Voice of God. Enjoy.
Wisdom, love, most bright.
Hi everybody, welcome back. So that was a beautiful video, wasn't it? So thank you David, Paul, and Candace for sending it to us, and we hope it really inspires a lot of people. So why don't you talk a little bit, Ron, about other ways you see and other methods and other techniques where this light technology will be of benefit to humans and the planet and all that?
Well, it can be used anywhere where anybody's using electricity. It could be used in stores, it could be used on airplanes, it could be used on ships, it could be used on trucks, it could be used on cars. One of the things that I envision is that we will sell a chip to the auto companies, and they'll put this little chip in the car, and the car, instead of being a bubble of chaos like it is now, will be a bubble of coherence going down the road. And eventually I would also like to sell chips to the computer companies, so instead of people having to download it, when they buy the computer, it would be on there. And it could be that for appliances, it could be that for just about anything that is produced. Another way that has come up just recently, initially I thought of this as being an environmental program to improve the environment so that humans in that environment could be healthier and heal and that sort of thing. But recently I've been given a healing program, or actually 12 healing programs, that shine light into the subconscious and the unconscious and dissolve the blocks in that area. And that's an area where we generally can't go with our conscious mind or intention and get rid of and dissolve those blocks. This doesn't do the actual healing, but it creates a situation where with those blocks gone, then whatever healing work we do then works. And the initial feedback that I'm getting is that's what it's doing for people.
And so this is a chip that's available on a...
Oh, no, this is also software.
It's also software.
Yeah, I talked about the chips as a way of delivering it so that when they're manufactured, but this is still done by software, the healing program that I'm talking about.
So in other words, this healing program would be on an individual person's computer.
Right.
And that would have the slightly different effect, let's say.
Yeah, the environmental program is flashy, if you will, because you can feel it, it changes the environment. This program, you don't feel anything happen when you put it on.
Even sensitive people?
Even sensitive people, because it doesn't do anything in the environment. It simply creates that connection between that software and that person's physiology, soul, however you want to look at it. And the interesting thing about that, it takes 5 days for this technology, or I should say 120 hours of the computer being on, for it to mature. And after that first 120 hours, this particular program, this healing program, will heal and do that work on the person's blocks in their subconscious and unconscious anywhere they are. They don't have to be by the computer, because it's quantum physics, if you will, and there is really no distance, no time and space, right? And after that 5 days, the computer doesn't even have to be on. It sets up a grid, and it continues to do that even with the computer not on. Now, the computer has to go on at least an hour a month to keep the program functioning, but it's not that the computer has to be on 24 hours a day for it to be working 24 hours a day.
Okay, now you talk about a program. Now, as I understand computer programming, it's ones and zeros, is that right?
Yeah, this is not ones and zeros, this is intention.
This is intention.
This is intention, and I've been given the gift of how to put that on a piece of software, which is actually not even a piece of software, it's just a file. And not in the ones and zero forms, but actually in a more spiritual form.
So, your software, your environmental software, is on my computer.
Yes.
Right. It's in the program.
It better be.
No, it's there. I swear it's there.
Okay.
And I just got a new one, and you sent me a new one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on there now. If Bill Gates, if somebody, a computer programmer, I have friends who program. If they came and looked at that program, they'd say, "You're an idiot."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They would, right?
Right.
Because they'd look at the program and say, "There's nothing in it."
They'd say it's not a program.
It's not a program.
Yeah. they would say it's, well, I don't want to talk about what it actually
No,
would
I
look like,
understand.
but it would make sense to them. And,
But would they see something? What would they see?
well,
I mean, and if they open another program, they would see code of
Right,
some kind.
right.
If they open your program, would they see code?
no,
They wouldn't see code.
they wouldn't see the code. There's a code on there, but they wouldn't see it.
They wouldn't see it.
Right.
And what would they see? Just an empty file?
No, they would see some writing.
They would see some writing,
Yeah, English language writing.
English language.
Intentions. Because that's an important thing to understand, that this whole thing is based on intention. And it's a way of bringing one's intention. And actually, the interesting thing is that once someone downloads this on their computer, they can actually add intentions to it themselves. Because of the fact that it creates an environment that reduces the separation between these individuals and the divine, then their connection with the divine is closer, and so their intentions are stronger. That's
Their
kind of how it works.
intentions. So their intentions are closer to manifestation.
Exactly, exactly,
Oh, already.
exactly. A great way of saying it, yeah.
So if somebody wanted their intention on this program, would the intention have to be like particularly pure? You know, I want to win the Kentucky Derby. I want, you know, the handsome guy, the pretty girl, the $1 million.
That's an excellent point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because
Try it.
because in the conscious mind, what our intentions are in the conscious mind are not always in alignment with our soul's intention. So if it's out
You've
of
noticed. All right.
I did notice that.
All right, good. I was just checking. I know you're very, very harmonized.
And so if someone has an intention, like, you know, I want to rob a bank, you know, that's not going to get supported. And because that's an intention that's coming from the conscious and not in line with their soul's mission or job or responsibility or intention. So as the intentions become more in line with the soul's intentions, which they will in this technology, because there's less clutter there to, you know, to hide that, then their intentions will become, again, more in line, and they'll find that they manifest more easily.
Okay, so somebody like you, who you would say is familiar with this technology and, you know, has been around it and been refined and been harmonized. So when you put this software on, is this the same software as mine, and then you add your intention to it?
Well,
I mean, if you're giving all these softwares away, like the millions of people watching Bridging, you know, will contact Bridging, and then, you know, we'll give them your number, and then they'll contact you.
Right.
I want this free software. Would this free software be the same for all of those people, or is it?
yes, yeah.
Yes, it would be.
It's a basically general thing for the environment. And the intention is for that I put on there when I created it is for them to be comfortable in front of their computer, for the chaotic electromagnetic field that's being created by the computer to be transformed into electromagnetic field, coherent electromagnetic field that is life-supporting for the human body, and for their intentions on the computer, the work that they're doing, and that sort of thing to be easier. And, you know, they're just the basic intentions that would match the intentions a person would have when they're working on the computer. Then the person working on that computer can vary those intentions somewhat within that realm. They can't have an intention that's totally outside of that particular situation for something to happen, but within that realm of what they're doing. And then
So what other, like, okay, so did you put a specially designed software on your computer, or did you put this basic one and then say additional, like the same way I could, or how would you do that? Or let's say, ask this question, when you did it for me, you know, someone you knew and all that,
Yeah.
would that be the one you sent, was that the basic one, or did you say, you know, this is Alan, God knows he needs this and this and this, and checked? Or was that the basic one, and then you would encourage me to add my intention? How would you?
I started out with the basic one, and then I customized it for you based on our conversation and what I picked up out of what your desires are. And then you can add intentions to that as they come up. which are within that realm of where those intentions, those intentions will have to do with creating a space, again, that reduces the separation, and one that provides joy and happiness and health and, what we all would consider standard things that we would like to have. And then any personal intentions go on top of that. In the case of a custom one, what someone either tells me or I intuit out of talking to them. And then again, some personal intentions that come to your mind. And you don't even have to even think about it as being an intention that you're working on. Just the very fact that you're having thoughts and desires of things that you want, in that environment they're going to be stronger. It's very difficult to talk about, and I'm trying, to use as many words as I can to explain it, and none of them totally do.
Well, I think anything's really like that. I mean, generally on this plane, we cut a piece of the infinite out and try to describe it.
Right,
And it's like
yeah.
we never go anywhere. I mean, anything we say, there's 3 dots before it and 3 dots after it.
Yeah.
It's like infinite. We talk about it, then it's infinite.
Right.
Right?
You just pull it in for a few minutes later or a few seconds.
Well, the problem on Earth is that we believe that part.
Yeah.
And that's our experience. And we think that's
Exactly.
we don't remember the infinite on both sides.
Right.
So that would change things a lot if we.
Interesting thing about this, I have a little thing that I call a Metatron Auto Clear, and it's a little gadget that you plug into your cigarette lighter. And my experience with this technology in that is that if I go on a long trip, it's like I leave and the next thing I know I'm there. And it's kind of like, the reason for that is because there's more of an infinite experience than you would normally have.
Hours don't pass.
Exactly, yeah. So it's very interesting you mentioned that. And that's the whole idea, get to that point where we don't think about time or it doesn't exist for us.
And do you feel that way about, does that also affect space? Because generally people talk about, timeless and spaceless. So that in essence, we talk a lot about in the show about love and motion. So love and motion is just infinite and in motion, in a human body it's in motion.
My experience, because I have the basic original Metatron software that I created originally, and that's the basis that I use for everything. Everything's created off of that. Plus the fact that, for instance, your program that's on your computer, that same program is on my computer to feed your computer. And
so your computer would have everybody's.
Exactly.
So you have one. Would you need a tremendously big hard drive?
Well,
or is the program so small? That
well, the standard one,
Yeah.
there's just one copy of that, and that goes out to a lot of different people.
So as long as you have that one.
Yeah, and so then the custom ones, then there's one. I expect one of these days I'm going to have a pretty big computer with a whole lot of this stuff on it. But what I wanted to say is that a number of years ago I heard from a spiritual leader about the continuum, and that this is really a continuum. There's no such thing as time and space. Well, in that environment, I'm more and more experiencing it as a continuum, as opposed to time going by. That's so where you were going, I think, is correct.
So, and the continuum is just.
You're there and you're doing things, but it's not like time's going by. And then if you do look at, the time, it's like a whole lot of time went by and you didn't think about time going by. It was just sort of like you're here and now you're here. Very similar to driving in the car over a long distance, and it seems like you left and the next thing you're there.
I mean, do you think and also comes in, it's interesting because we're starting, I think we talked about this before, a website, Home of the Infinites.
Mm-hmm.
And, the feeling is that, people identify with a lot of things, but if everyone could just identify, if you have to identify with something, although what we're saying is you don't really have to. You can be in this continuum, you can be love and motion, you can be timeless and spaceless. But if you're going to identify with something, then if everyone identified with this infinite, that would be a step, towards this timeless and spaceless thing. So to have like this MySpace kind of website, where people could create together and collaborate together and network together, and it would be home of the infinites. And the it's in the process of happening. It hasn't been finalized yet, but somehow that people would say, yes, I want to identify with being an infinite rather than the others, and that would be the opening step. And then
And
from there, it would
we
be-
definitely want to have this technology on that site.
That's what I was kind of. So, I mean, would that one have a particular? Would that be like a custom one that would have to be on your website?
Yeah, what I would do now on occasion when something like that comes up, I actually go to my spiritual mentors and ask them if they have any input or any suggestions or even editing what I come up with for intentions, and so we would probably do that.
And when you talk about spiritual mentors, are you talking about spiritual mentors who are in physical body and not in physical body? Both?
I have one spiritual mentor in a physical body, and that's Bill Bauman, who helped me put the pieces together over the past 3.5, almost 4 years. Then I have several spiritual mentors that have never been in a body who actually have assisted me getting to where I got and telling me what to do. And because I guess I mentioned I'm not a computer geek.
And were these people available to you before this day of the 26 people download? Or?
Oh yes, oh yeah. I've been working with this and they do change from time to time, but with what I call my board of directors, my spiritual board of directors, probably for 10 years now. And it's been.
And how did that first come? I mean, did that first come as that we're here to give you information that you're going to use 10 years from now, or hello? How did that first introduction
It was
happen?
very interesting. There's a lady in Fairfield, Iowa. Her name is Helen French Black, who's a healer and a very, very good communicator with the spiritual. And we were actually. She worked for me for a while, and then she became a full-time healer. And I would go to her, first of all, for some physical things, but then we started working in the business area, and I started getting advice in the business area. And one day, we were there, and Archangel Michael came in and
Through her.
and asked to be my spiritual partner.
Wow. That's
and I,
All right.
that didn't take too long.
right. And so she said, Archangel Michael's here, and he wants to be your spiritual partner, Ron.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he introduced me to Archangel Camiel, who was the energy archangel, because at that point we were still working more at the level of energy. And then when a year ago, August, I guess it was, we had. Before that, I had some technology like this, but then in August was when that big download came in, and I actually created a new program at that time. And I asked my spiritual board of directors what we should call it, because I wanted an appropriate name for this thing, and they wouldn't tell me. They said I had to go and do some reading and that, and ask. So I was asking everybody I knew, and somebody came up with Metatron, who I was not familiar with at all, other than the fact that I knew that Metatron was an archangel. So I asked Metatron to come to one of my board meetings and ask permission to use his name for this technology. Not only did he give me permission, but he said he was honored. So
Wow.
So now the main person on the board of directors is Metatron usually. So
Wow.
it does vary from time to time.
Well, I tell you, we're coming to the end of the show again. And
Okay.
It's really been an honor to have you, and I'm sure it was enlightening for a lot of people. So if you want any information about the videos, the voice of God, anything about Ron, about the Metatron technology, give me a call, Alan, 805-687-2053, 805-687-2053. Good night. God bless you. Thank you.